United Nations Climate Summit 2025, a turning point for our planet. The year 2025 has become a crucial moment for climate action worldwide. On every continent, extreme weather, floods, wildfires, droughts, and hurricanes has made it painfully clear that climate change is not a distant threat but a present-day reality. With this urgency in mind, world leaders gathered in New York for the United Nations Climate Summit 2025. This summit was not just about grand speeches or lofty promises. Its focus was on practical roadmaps and measurable commitments. But the big question remains, are these commitments enough to save our planet? Why this summit matters more than ever. Climate summits are nothing new, from the Paris Agreement in 2015 to COP26. But the 2025 summit feels different. The clock is running out. According to the UN's latest report, global temperatures are already approaching the dangerous 1.5 degrees threshold. Without aggressive action, humanity could face irreversible climate shocks by 2035. Developing nations will need at least $400 billion annually in climate financing, yet so far only a fraction of promised funds has materialized. That's why many have dubbed this gathering the Now or Never Summit. Key themes of the summit. 1. Carbon neutrality deadlines. Several nations updated their climate targets. United States, net zero emissions by 2040. European Union, carbon neutrality by 2038. China moved its goal forward from 2060 to 2050. India revised its 2070 target to somewhere between 2060-2065. These shifts are encouraging, but critics argue the pace still falls short of what climate science demands. 2. Renewable energy push. One major announcement. By 2030, renewables will account for 70% of the global electricity mix. Solar, wind, and green hydrogen lead the charge. A $50 billion renewable energy fund was pledged for Africa. The Middle East unveiled its Sunbelt Energy Grid project to supply clean power across Asia and Europe. 3. Climate finance for developing nations. The loudest demand from developing countries was clear. Funds now, not just promises. A new global climate resilience fund of $300 billion was pledged. Experts, however, warn this is still far below actual needs, and its implementation remains uncertain. 4. Loss and damage compensation. For the first time, the summit saw serious discussions on compensating countries most affected by climate disasters. Pacific Island nations, Bangladesh, and several African states made a powerful case for justice, technology, and innovation. A hopeful aspect of the summit was the showcase of cutting-edge climate technology. Carbon capture plants, new mega-projects in Iceland and Canada can pull CO2 from the air and turn it into stone. AI for climate, artificial intelligence models that can predict natural disasters more accurately and give early warnings. Green transport. Prototypes of electric aircraft and hydrogen-powered ships drew global attention. Yet, the big question lingers. How quickly can these technologies scale? Voices from the summit UN Secretary General. The era of fossil fuels must end before the fossil fuels end us. Youth activists. Protests and rallies outside the sessions with chants of system change, not climate change. Corporate CEOs. Some announced plans for net zero supply chains, though many activists dismissed these pledges as greenwashing. The politics behind the promises. As always, politics shaped much of the debate. The U.S. and China issued a joint declaration, but tensions over trade restrictions continue. Oil-exporting nations like Saudi Arabia and Russia pushed for compromises on phasing out fossil fuels. Developing nations insisted that without faster funding and technology transfer, a green transition would remain out of reach. Critics' view. Environmentalists expressed skepticism. The targets are still too little, too late. Past failures make it hard to trust new promises on climate finance. Some countries continue to put national interests above the planet's survival. On the other hand, optimists argue, for the first time, a unified sense of urgency was palpable. Renewables were declared the default global choice for future energy. What it means for ordinary people. For everyday people, the summit's outcomes could mean, over the next decade, major changes in electricity and transport systems. A job market shift, fossil fuel industries shrinking, while renewable energy jobs expand, better early warning systems and insurance support against climate disasters if pledges turn into reality. Conclusion: a crossroads for humanity. The United Nations Climate Summit 2025 is a stark reminder. Time is running out. The promises made here may fill history books, but the real test lies in whether they translate into action. Humanity cannot afford another wasted decade. If governments, corporations, and citizens act decisively now, a sustainable and resilient future by 2050 is still within reach. Perhaps the most memorable line from the summit was, "Climate action is not a choice anymore. It is survival."